Last Tuesday, a 72-year-old woman sat across from me in my office and said something that stopped me cold. She said, "Doctor, I wake up every single morning feeling like my stomach is at war with me. Bloating, cramps, this heaviness that won't go away. I've tried probiotics. I've tried cutting out dairy. I've tried everything the internet told me to try. And honestly, I'm starting to think this is just what getting old feels like." And I looked at her and I said, "Margaret, it doesn't have to be." Because here's what nobody explained to her, and what nobody has probably explained to you either. That bloating, that constant low-grade discomfort, that fatigue you can't shake no matter how much sleep you get. It might not be your stomach at all. It might be your gut lining, quietly falling apart, one morning at a time. And the inflammation that's spreading from that damage, it doesn't just stay in your belly. It travels to your joints, to your brain, to your heart. But there is one food, one ancient, deeply simple food that your grandmother probably already knew about. And when you eat it in the morning, it goes straight to work repairing the damage, patching the holes, calming the fire. And no, it's not yogurt, it's not turmeric, it's not some overpriced supplement from a late-night commercial. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what's been happening inside your gut, why it gets worse after 60, and how this one food can begin to turn it around, starting tomorrow morning. I'm Dr. John. I've spent 15 years in clinical practice working with patients over 60, and I specialize in the health challenges that come with aging, gut health, inflammation, heart disease, joint pain, cognitive decline. The issues that don't just show up in a textbook, they show up in your daily life, in the way you feel when you get out of bed, in the energy you have, or don't have, to play with your grandchildren. And gut health? It sits at the center of almost everything I treat, because when your gut breaks down, the rest of your body follows. So let's talk about what's really going on in there. Here's something most people over 60 don't realize. Your gut isn't just where food gets digested. Your gut is a barrier, a living wall. It decides what gets absorbed into your bloodstream and what gets kept out. Nutrients? They pass through. Toxins, bacteria, undigested food particles. They're supposed to stay on the other side. But as we age, that wall starts to weaken. Do you know that researchers have found that aging triggers changes in the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living inside your intestines, and those changes can compromise the integrity of the intestinal barrier? A 2025 study published in Digestive Diseases and Sciences, led by researchers at the Mayo Clinic, confirmed that the amino acids and minerals found in certain traditional foods actively support gut barrier repair and help reduce intestinal inflammation. But most people never hear about this. Instead, they hear, "take a probiotic," or "eat more fiber." And look, those things aren't bad, but they're not addressing the root problem if your gut lining is already damaged. Think about it this way. If your roof has a hole in it, you don't fix the problem by rearranging the furniture inside the house. You patch the roof. And that's what we need to talk about, patching the roof. Because when that gut barrier breaks down, it's not just bloating and bathroom trouble. A compromised intestinal lining allows bacteria and inflammatory molecules to escape into the bloodstream. And once that happens, your immune system goes on high alert, constantly. That's chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation after 60 is linked to joint pain, brain fog, heart disease, blood sugar problems, and accelerated aging. This isn't theory. This is what I see in my patients every single week. Let me explain what's actually happening inside you so this makes sense. Picture your gut lining like a long stretch of cobblestone road. Each stone is a cell called an enterocyte, and between those stones, there's a kind of mortar, tight junctions, that holds everything together and keeps the road sealed. When you're younger, that road is smooth, tight. Nothing slips through the cracks. But after decades of stress, processed food, medications, especially things like long-term use of NSAIDs, which millions of seniors take for pain, that mortar starts to crumble. Gaps open up. Tiny, invisible gaps. But they're big enough for bacteria and toxins to leak through into your bloodstream. This is what researchers call increased intestinal permeability. You may have heard the more common name, leaky gut. And here's the part that gets overlooked. After age 60, your body produces less glutamine, the primary fuel that those gut lining cells depend on to repair themselves. It's like a construction crew that's running out of materials. The damage keeps happening, but the repair slows down. At the same time, the diversity of your gut bacteria declines with age. Certain protective species decrease, certain inflammatory species increase. It's a slow shift, but it creates a cycle: more permeability, more inflammation, more damage, less repair. That's the cycle most seniors are trapped in, and they don't even know it. So what's this one food? Bone broth. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, "That's it? Soup?" Hear me out. Because bone broth isn't regular soup, and the science behind what it does inside your gut is remarkable. When animal bones, chicken, beef, or fish, are simmered low and slow for hours, sometimes 12, sometimes 24, the heat extracts compounds from the bones, cartilage, and marrow that you simply cannot get from a supplement bottle. The first thing that makes bone broth extraordinary is glutamine. Remember that amino acid I just mentioned? The fuel your gut lining cells are starving for? Bone broth is one of the richest natural sources of glutamine available. When you drink it in the morning, you're delivering that raw material directly to the cells that need it most. Research has consistently shown that glutamine helps strengthen tight junctions, that mortar between the cobblestones, and supports the regeneration of new intestinal cells. The next compound is glycine. Glycine is an amino acid with powerful anti-inflammatory properties. It helps calm the immune response in the gut, which means it directly addresses that chronic inflammation cycle I described. Glycine doesn't just put out the fire, it helps rebuild the tissue the fire damaged. And here's a bonus most people don't expect. Glycine also supports better sleep and stress reduction, so the benefits ripple outward. Then there's collagen, which breaks down into gelatin during the long cooking process. Gelatin has a unique ability to attract and hold water, which supports the mucus lining of the intestines. That mucus layer is your gut's first line of defense, and in many seniors, it's thinned out significantly. Gelatin helps restore it. And bone broth doesn't stop there. It also delivers proline, critical for tissue repair and collagen production in your body, along with minerals like calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and zinc. All in forms your body can actually absorb, not the chalky tablet forms that pass right through you. Bioavailable minerals, pulled from the bones themselves. Now this is the part that surprises a lot of my patients. I tell them, this isn't a new discovery. Bone broth has been used for centuries across cultures, in Chinese medicine, in traditional European kitchens, in Japanese and Korean healing traditions, long before anyone had a word for intestinal permeability. Your grandmother kept a pot simmering on the back of the stove for a reason. She didn't have the vocabulary for it, but she understood something the research is only now catching up to. If you're finding this helpful, if this is giving you a clearer picture of what's been going on inside your body, I want you to hit that subscribe button right now. I release videos like this every week, focused on helping you protect your health, understand your body, and age with strength and dignity. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I want to tell you about a man I'll call Arthur. Arthur was 68, retired mechanic, tough guy, hands like leather, not the type to complain about anything. But his wife called my office. She said, "Doctor, something's wrong with Arthur. He's not eating. He says his stomach hurts every morning. He's lost weight. He barely has the energy to walk the dog anymore, and he keeps saying it's nothing." When Arthur finally came in, I ran labs, did a full workup. His inflammation markers, his CRP, were elevated. His vitamin absorption was poor. He was showing signs of malnutrition, despite eating what he thought was a decent diet. And his gut? When I asked him to describe how he felt after eating, he said, "Like everything I eat just sits there and rots." I didn't put him on a complicated protocol. I didn't add 5 new supplements. I said, "Arthur, I want you to start every morning with a cup of homemade bone broth, warm, plain, before you eat anything else. and I want you to do it for 30 days. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But his wife, she grew up in a family that made chicken soup from scratch. She knew exactly what to do. She started making it weekly. A big pot, chicken bones, a splash of apple cider vinegar to help draw out the minerals, some celery, some onion, simmered for about 16 hours. Arthur drank a mug every morning. At his follow-up 4 weeks later, his bloating had reduced noticeably. He said his stomach didn't fight him in the mornings anymore. He had more energy. He was walking the dog again, longer walks. And his CRP? It had come down. Now, was bone broth the only factor? No. We also adjusted a few things in his diet and reviewed his medications. But Arthur will tell you to this day that morning cup changed the trajectory. It gave his body the raw material it needed to start repairing itself. And what struck me most was what he said at that follow-up visit. He said, "Doc, I forgot what it felt like to wake up and not dread breakfast." That sentence stayed with me, because that's what gut damage steals from people. Not just comfort, it steals the simple joy of starting your day. So here's what I'd encourage you to do. And none of this is complicated. None of it requires a prescription, but all of it matters. First, start incorporating bone broth into your morning routine. You can make it at home, which is ideal. Use chicken, beef, or fish bones. Add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to the water. This helps extract the minerals from the bones. Simmer it low for at least 12 hours, ideally longer. Strain it. Store it in the fridge or freeze it in portions. 1 warm cup each morning before your regular breakfast. If making it from scratch isn't realistic for you, look for store-bought options, but choose carefully. Look for bone broth that's been simmered long enough to contain real collagen. You can tell because it should gel when refrigerated. Avoid products loaded with sodium, additives, or artificial flavoring. Read the label. If the ingredients list looks like a chemistry textbook, put it back on the shelf. Or you could tell your child or a carer to help you make it in bulk and store it in your refrigerator to use over time. Second, pay attention to the signals your gut is sending you. Chronic bloating is not normal aging. Persistent gas is not just how it is now. Feeling exhausted after meals, changes in bowel habits, unexplained weight loss, these are your body asking for help. Don't dismiss them. Third, talk to your doctor about your gut health specifically. Most seniors go to their checkups and talk about blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, all important. But very few ask, "How is my gut doing?" Bring it up. Ask about intestinal health. Ask whether your current medications, particularly long-term pain relievers or acid-reducing drugs, could be affecting your gut lining. Fourth, reduce the foods that are actively damaging your gut while you're trying to repair it. Ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, artificial sweeteners, excessive alcohol, these are the things punching holes in the wall while you're trying to patch it. You don't have to be perfect, but be aware. And fifth, don't expect overnight miracles. Gut repair is gradual. It's a process, not an event. Consistency matters far more than intensity. 1 cup of bone broth every morning for weeks is worth more than a 3-day gut detox from the internet. Your body heals on its own schedule. Give it the materials, give it the time. Here's what I want to leave you with today. Your gut is not just a digestive organ. It's the foundation of your immune system. It's connected to your brain, your mood, your joints, your energy, your ability to absorb the nutrients that keep you strong and independent. And when it's damaged, when that lining breaks down and inflammation takes over, it touches every part of your life. But here's the hopeful part. Your gut lining is one of the fastest regenerating tissues in your entire body. It wants to heal. It just needs the right building blocks. And something as ancient and simple as a warm cup of bone broth in the morning can be the start of that healing. I want to ask you something in the comments. Have you ever tried bone broth consistently? Or have you noticed any of the gut symptoms I described today? The bloating, the fatigue, the feeling that your stomach is working against you? Tell me. I read these comments, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you know someone, a spouse, a parent, a friend, who's been struggling with digestive issues and doesn't know where to start, share this video with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone's health is simply say, "Watch this." Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Next week, I'm covering a topic that connects directly to this one: the hidden signs that chronic inflammation is silently aging your body faster than it should. You don't want to miss that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about your health. And I'll see you in the next video. Everything I've shared today is general medical information based on published research and my clinical experience. It is not a personal diagnosis, and it is not a substitute for care from your own physician. Always speak with your doctor or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your diet, supplements, medications, or health routine. Your doctor knows your history, your medications, and your individual needs, and that's where personalized care begins.